Hey folks, it's Tom, your frugal prepper. So I have been working here on getting this third soil bed put in. I'm about ready to take my final measurements and set my first board down the side. What I did on this one, and all my other ones, I used the 10 foot 2x6s. Now I want to say that when you're building grow boxes and stuff, the Mittleider method recommends 2x8s. However, I'm really growing in the soil. These are just to be up above the ground an inch or two and keep the soil level. I'm not growing in the sand and sawdust, so I'm using 2x6s. But it's been a little source of contention from some of the more pure Mittleider people as to following the book exactly. But the book really doesn't cover framing a soil bed. It's either sand and sawdust or doing the regular soil beds where you hill up the soil. So it's kind of a hybrid method, I guess. But looking at my garden, I say it works. You can be the judge for yourself if you think this works. I'm 4 days away from 60 days since planting, so just a little shy of 2 months of plants in the ground. And those are my green beans and corn and peas and everything, and squash, and there's cucumbers and cantaloupe. Most of you have seen this if you watch my channel, but I'll just take a quick walk through here so you can see. Soybeans got eaten by groundhog. I had another groundhog show up today, so I've got my box trap set up again. Squash, some of those are definitely ready to get picked. Cantaloupes, you can see there's another one, and another one growing. Cucumbers, you can see all throughout here. I haven't picked any of the big ones yet this morning. I need to get out here and start picking. Watermelon, tomatoes. You can really see them underneath here. Gourmet green beans, which also got ate by the groundhog. These are Asian peas, and then snow peas, and then sugar snap peas, and then my corn, which is down here. It's growing, it's corn. Oh, and that's my little potato tire. That's absolutely not Mittleider. That's just a potato tire with leaf mulch and dirt mixed in it, and I throw some weekly feed on it. So anyway, I've tilled this soil up. I mean, I have pretty good topsoil, as you can see. I tilled in 6 cubic feet of peat moss into this to help loosen it up because it was a little bit clay-like. And I also tilled in about 120 pounds of sand to help loosen it up. And then I just went back and forth through it with the tiller over and over again for like an hour to really work it in and break it up. So this is going to be where I plant my fall potatoes. So I'm going to work on getting the boards in. Anyway, what I started to say earlier was on these beds I use 10-foot long ones. But what I found is the 2x6x12s are actually a lot more expensive at Lowe's, which is where I bought my 10-foot ones. The 10-foot ones are more expensive at Home Depot. But at Home Depot, the 12s are cheaper than the 10s. At least at mine. So it's only like $7 for a 12-foot, and they wanted like $10 for a 10-foot. So I got the 12s. So if I put 2 of these together, that's 24. Then I cut one in half for the end for 2 6-foot pieces. That gives me my 30 feet. If you were going to do a 20-foot bed, you could do 2 of these together, but then cut the last 4 feet off, right, which will give you 12 and 8, which would give you your 20-foot bed. And then you'd have 4-foot sections left over for the ends. So sometimes just looking at, I guess, at the different prices of lumber and different sizes at both places, and not necessarily buying the 10s, but reworking other pieces if you need them, means that you can save quite a bit of money on lumber, you know, especially if you're building a lot of beds over time or all at once. Save quite a bit of money. So I got an 8-foot that I'm going to cut in half to put on the ends. I've been collecting what I have left of stakes that I've made. I'm going to have to cut more. I've only got 2 little pieces of 2x4 left though. So I have to cut some 2x4 pieces to join them together on the ends, you know. And then I need some 2x4 pieces to slice some steaks out of on the table saw. So I'm probably going to have to go buy another 2x4 pressure treated. I know some people don't use pressure treated for the steaks. That makes no sense to me. I'd rather cut them and use pressure treated and just have them last. Don't have them rot out on me. So there's not going to be any T-frames in this bed. Just going to be potatoes. And then in the spring, this will get replanted with potatoes. And then I'll have things like my peppers, kale, maybe even squash. Things that don't need to climb vertically up the trellis or up the T-frame of the strings, planted here. And my potatoes will come out. I'm doing Irish cobbler, which should be done in about 50 to 55 days. So I can plant those like April 1 through April 10. And then those will be ready to come out just when all my peppers and everything, which will have a healthy start inside, will be ready to go in. And that way I'm using the bed for 2 harvests. Then once the peppers and all that stuff have played out again, I should be able to replant fall potatoes. I may have to cover them at the end with some greenhouse plastic, but then I'll get a 3rd fall harvest of potatoes. Now the fall harvest probably won't be as large, but the idea is mostly just to preserve your seed potatoes, so you can let those lay dormant over the winter, then let them sprout eyes and get them replanted in the spring. Because seed potatoes, when you plant a big bed like this, I really should have about 14-15 pounds. If I'm planting them whole, I'm going to cut them in half, try to get 2 eyes per half. So I got 7 pounds, but that was $30 plus shipping. So, well, it was like $30 with shipping. So seed potatoes are pretty expensive, and if you consider that potatoes don't cost that much at the store, it's not really maybe economically viable to buy seed potatoes. The advantage is, what a lot of people don't realize about potatoes is they're full of herbicide. Normally when you plant them, you either want to cut the tops off or let the tops die back before you harvest them, because the potatoes will last longer that way. They'll store better if you let them die off and sit in the ground for a little while before you harvest them. So when they do commercial potato farming, they actually spray herbicide on the foliage to kill it off, and then let them sit in the ground for a couple weeks and then pull them out. Herbicides like Roundup, the way they work is they actually go into the foliage. Okay, you have to have foliage. They get absorbed there, but they actually go down to the root system and get absorbed into the roots, and they die off. Now the herbicide over time does break down into other compounds, so after a year or so it's not really toxic to you anymore. But guess what the root of a potato is? Well, there's roots, but there's also potatoes in the root system. You're eating the roots, essentially. That's where all the Roundup gets sucked down into. So when you eat commercial potatoes, you're eating a lot of herbicides. I was kind of surprised to learn that. So that's why I don't eat much potatoes, but my family eats a lot, especially my wife. There's been so many studies here lately that link just minute amounts of Roundup to breast cancer. So if my wife's eating potatoes, I'd really rather they could just be the ones that I grow in the garden that I don't use herbicide on, even if it's not necessarily cost effective or more cost effective to grow them yourself versus buying them in bulk in big bags at the store. So that's my logic behind why I want to grow potatoes. Like I said, I'm diabetic. I can't really eat too many of them. I'll have a few just to try, but potatoes are way too complex of a carbohydrate, and they really spike the blood sugar when you're diabetic. But peas, I love just coming out here, picking a bowl full of these peas, taking them inside, and stir frying them. It's been excellent. The squash has been excellent. I'm still waiting for these green beans to grow. I've got plenty of blooms, but no beans yet. We'll see. It shouldn't be too much longer, hopefully. So I'm going to get back at it. I'm trying to set up over here at the picnic table. I got to cut some wood, get some stuff ready. I might have to make another trip to the Home Depot. I was really happy yesterday. I discovered that Home Depot started carrying the gamma lids, so I don't have to drive 35 miles to Menards anymore to get my gamma lids, and they're actually $1 cheaper than Menards was selling them. So there's like $7.95. So I'm real happy about that, because those gamma lids, if you're gonna have buckets that you get in and out of for fertilizers and stuff like that all the time, gamma lid is a lifesaver. I would not use anything else from my weekly feed because it keeps it sealed tight and makes for easy access, so it doesn't get watered down since it's hydroscopic. That's it, folks. I will show you this when I get it complete. I'm hoping to have the boards up today, get this leveled out. Then what I'm going to do is let the soil just kind of settle down for a couple weeks. Make sure I go through, pull any weeds that sprout. Then I'll come out and re-till with the small tiller until in my pre-plant and my first dose of weekly feed, and then get the taters in the ground here in 2 to 3 weeks. It will be about the right time to get them in for a fall crop. Alright, that's it, everybody. Be happy and frugal out there.